أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, dear brothers and sisters. Welcome once again to another episode of DHUL HIJJah Real Talk on a very special evening. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, وَأَذِّن فِي النَّاسِ بِالْحَجِّ يَأْتُوكَ رِجَالًا وَعَلَى كُلِّ ضَامِرٍ يَأْتِينَ مِنْ كُلِّ فَجٍّ عَمِيقٍ. And proclaim to mankind the Hajj. You will see them come on every lean camel from every distant mountain pass, subhanAllah. And that is the day. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that Al-Hajj is Arafah. And today is the day of Arafah. At least it has passed us by here in this part of the world. But as we speak, right now, 1 p.m. Mecca time, the Hujjaj are on the plain of Arafah or adjacent to it, about to pray the combined salah of Dhuhr and Asr, Masjid Namira, where the great salah happens, and in the adjacent areas. And that is the day that we are coming to you live on today to discuss the very topic of Hajj itself in this special series of DHUL HIJJah candid episodes. Before I introduce our very special guest, who is very appropriate for this particular episode, I'm just going to get the team to play a video that gets to the core of the message and the work of NZF, the organization behind these incredible series of episodes that we've been able to bring you this year and over the last year or so. And that, of course, is related to, in this instance, the issue of homelessness. And I'll explain why it's so pertinent and so important, especially in this time of the year. But I'll get the team to roll the video first, inshallah, as a bit of a segue into this topic and some of the reflections we'll have on the work of NZF and some of the inspiration behind what Brother Ismail Davids, who's with us here today, has done. So, Bilal and team, if we can just...
There are many in our Muslim community in this situation tonight.
When we think of homelessness in Australia, we think it only affects a small number of people. The rare few we see is sleeping outside in our CBD. But the homelessness problem is big and is impacting the Muslim community too. On any night in Australia, 44,000 children and young people are without a place they can call home. They are running away from domestic violence or seeking shelter from a life of abuse and neglect. Do we really think Muslims are not among them? They are. And our work at NZF, we've seen the harrowing stories firsthand. It isn't just our youth. Older Muslims, including elderly ones, are included in this picture. There's a serious shortage of services to tackle the problem of Muslim homelessness within our community. It is a hidden problem, often tucked away and forgotten. But through the Zakah infrastructure NZF has built, we've helped many Muslims out of homelessness in its various forms. We've provided emergency accommodation. We've provided vocational training and networks to help people gain financial independence and fulfill their potential. And we provided medical and psychological support to help people recover from desperate situations. In this blessed month of DHUL HIJJah, we ask you to be a pillar of support to homeless brothers and sisters. Your giving in these days will help us support homeless Muslims who are doing it tough, to extend our service to many more and help turn lives around, to help create lasting change so the Muslims can live empowered lives. This year, support NZF's work in tackling homelessness. Join us to change tomorrow.
Jazakumullah khair, team, for that very moving example of the work that NZF does. We will talk about NZF's work a little bit more in detail as part of Brother Ismail David's journey and how he sort of came to be the CEO of this organization. But before we get to him, just a reminder to everyone that though, at least in Australia, the day of Arafah has passed, unless you're doing local sighting, in which case it's tomorrow, keep supporting the incredibly important work that's going on here. So the video that we just saw was an instance of how NZF is able to channel the blessing of both sadaqah and zakah back into the local community in Australia and the needs that this community has, which are far more numerous than sometimes we imagine. Of course, often with DHUL HIJJah and Ramadan, we think of giving overseas and sometimes forget that there are great and pressing and acute needs right here in our community. And the month of DHUL HIJJah and the month of Ramadan and these blessed times of the year where giving in the path of Allah is encouraged and is greatly rewarded, we sometimes need to be reminded that it is very important that we support those close to home as well. So whether you've already done Arafah or if it's tomorrow for you, or whether you're in need of the reward of Allah, as we all are, please do consider giving to NZF's work because it is critical in supporting brothers and sisters affected by homelessness, affected by domestic violence, widows, refugees, orphans, all sorts of people who are in need right here in our community. Now, that's about NZF's work generally, but today I am here with the CEO of NZF, Brother Ismail Davids, who lives two lives, right? So for many of us, we know him obviously as the CEO of NZF, but many of us also know him in his other capacity as one of the, I would call it, and he would never say this himself, but one of the dons of Hajj in the English language and for the English-speaking Muslim community, not just here in Australia, but all around the world because of how far his work has gone. And that's through his publications, through his thought leadership when it comes to Hajj, and just through the guidance that he's provided to, I would say, hundreds of thousands of Muslims living in the Western world. It is a great pleasure for me to welcome Brother Ismail Davids to our episode today. At a personal level, I performed my Hajj with Brother Ismail Davids' Hajj group a couple of years ago, 5 years ago in fact, and it was a fantastic experience. And obviously took the guidance that he gave, and it was part of my preparation. So it's quite an emotional time for me to welcome Brother Ismail Davids to this episode. Very fond memories. It's a very emotional time for anyone who's been to Hajj or hoping to go to Hajj to see these scenes coming from Jabal Rahmah today, as we've been all keeping an eye on the live stream. And so it's a very, very topical and momentous day. So Brother Ismail, once again, welcome to another episode of Real Talk.
Thank you.
How are you doing?
Alhamdulillah, very good.
Alhamdulillah. So it's a pretty momentous day, isn't it? How do you feel on a day like today?
Yes, it is. It's unusual to be not on Arafah.
Subhanallah,
But
subhanallah.
the last 2 years, I guess, has prepared us for this
Yes,
year.
yes.
So we didn't go due to COVID, and this year I didn't go for many reasons. So it's 3 years in a row now. But Alhamdulillah, it is what it is. I try not to feel. I live my life without regrets. So
Yes.
I don't regret things wherever I can, by Allah's will. So I'm sad that I'm not there, but I can also just carry on and do what I need to do. So I'm helping quite a lot of pilgrims. It's there. Even on my WhatsApp, somebody just called me before I came from Arafah, asking me should they walk to Jabal Rahmah, and I asked him what's the degrees. It's 44 degrees there, and I advised him not to walk, etc. Just to stay in the tent, send him some du'as, the books and stuff. So little things like that, I still feel like part of
it, yeah.
the Hajjis.
Yeah. And obviously when you've been to, and how many is it? What's the count?
I don't know the exact count,
Okay.
and there's an intentional reason. There's intentional for not having that exact count. So people ask me, I don't have the exact number.
Alhamdulillah. But when you've been that many times, alhamdulillah, Allah has blessed you as his guest that often. It must be a bit easier not to feel, left out or that regret or
The regret is more about the fact that we're not there to help the guests of Allah. And for this year especially, we wanted to go and help people. And that's really why I do it.
Yeah.
It's just to make sure that people, the pleasure that I find in it. So a lot of times during the Hajj, as you would know, people would say, I don't know how you can do this every year. But it's when you do something for the love of it, then you just don't feel it. You just enjoy it.
Yeah.
So that's really what I miss. So more than anything else.
So for those who probably aren't as familiar, let's roll back the clock. And I guess ask the question, how did you get involved, essentially being a Hajj guide, if we can put it that way. How did you get involved in that all those years ago? And what was the first year that you knew, perhaps that you knew that you wanted to be doing something like this?
I never knew I wanted to do something like this. It just came. Our first Hajj, the first Hajj I did was in 1989 from Australia. So we just got newly married, and my wife and I were sitting there, and my parents had gone to Hajj the year before, and we were just chatting. We said, okay, let's go for Hajj. So there was really nothing. It was just one of those things from Allah's will decided. So we decided to plan for Hajj, and 1989, yes, it was also in June. It was some of the hottest times.
Yes.
We didn't even know the weather. We didn't study anything. We had no idea what we were going to do. And we paid $2,000. It was through Tabung Haji, the Malaysian Hajj group, and Africa. And that was our first Hajj, my first Hajj I did. And that's probably still one of the more remembering ones I remember most and enjoyed the most, because it was sort of, like you're a rookie, so to speak.
Yes.
And then coming back from Hajj, alhamdulillah, I really, really enjoyed it. Then I got a job in Saudi the next year in 1990. And just by sheer coincidence, I landed up in Jeddah in Saudi in Dhul Qa'dah, just a couple of days before Hajj started. And some friends there were in the compound we lived said, do you want to go for Hajj? I said, yeah, why not? And then we got into a car, and then a whole group of us went for Hajj. And that was my second time going for Hajj. And then also, again, unplanned. That Hajj was so different from the first one. So we would with the rituals we did, I realized quite a lot of stuff we left out in the first one. and there's so many variances of things that people do. So I quite enjoyed that. Came back, and then 1991, we started teaching at one of the Islamic centers in Jeddah, and this is what they call the Dawah centers, where they teach new Muslims about Islam. So we ended up there, and we started teaching the rewards about Salah, etc. So the first thing I used to teach was Salah, and then they needed somebody to talk to people about Hajj, and then they said, "Okay, you've been Hajj a couple of times. Okay, come, teach."
And are these like expat Muslims from other countries that are living
there?
there?
Expat, but mainly they were either Filipino or Indian from subcontinent type nationalities. There was a few New Zealanders, some Brits. There was a couple of Aussies as well at the time. So every Friday I used to teach at the center, and then I became the teacher for the Hajj just by default. And then the good thing about that was when the groups went to Hajj, I became one of the group leaders for the rewards at Hajj. So each and every year we would have groups of going, and I would be going with them. So I was fortunate that I was the group leader, and then by sheer coincidence, my knowledge and my on the ground experience just got better and better, and understood the different variances of how things do, what to do best, etc. And then also because we lived there, families would come for Hajj or for Umrah, and there would be so much drama with the accommodation, with this and that, I would help out, etc. I can remember the first Hajj we did with Tabung Haji. I just thinking back now that even in that Hajj, I was busy coordinating people and things, organizing with the hotel, and arguing with the receptionist about things that wasn't available in the Hajj. So that's just my personality, trying to get things done. So just by nature, I would say, I became involved in Hajj year after year after year. One of the most memorable ones of those was one year we had 600 in our group. Rewards.
Wow.
And I was one of the group leaders.
From Jeddah, Yani?
From Jeddah, yeah. So we went for Hajj. I learned a lot. So we had different types of Hajjs. I did a Hajj one time with some friends from Jeddah, one of my Saudi friends and a couple of the others, and we did sort of a walking Hajj. We had no accommodation, no nothing. And
no allocated spots.
No allocated spots.
Yeah, okay. It's one of the
locals.
locals.
On our way, we ended up in Masjid Namira. That was probably one of the toughest ones we did. I also did Hajj through the Saudi, the local ones, one of the more expensive, really top of the range type ones. I call them the ice cream package Hajj.
Right.
So each year I had an opportunity to do something different, but most of the time I would go with the rewards group. I remember one year with the rewards, I had 100 rewards with me, and we were going to the Jamarat. And it was my job to take them Jamarat and bring them back. And I came back with 2 of them. I lost everybody. So it's one of those things. Like, because you know how chaotic it can be.
Of course, yes. Especially back in those days when there wasn't that beautiful...
Yeah. So learned a lot from that. We were in some of the Hajjs, we got caught in the stampedes.
Yes,
I was in 2 stampedes.
Some of the fatal ones, Yani.
Fatal ones. And that's why I also learned the how to teach people how to manage yourself in a stampede or in any time when there's a crush or difficulty, sort of those things. So there was some of those were sad years where a lot of these things happened. So how I met up with the Australians was after I wrote my book and people came. There was
and when was that? Mid-90s, late 90s? When did you?
So the book I started taking notes in the early 90s, 1995 onwards.
Yeah.
And somebody like the Pilgrims would come, friends and family would come, and my notes from what I was teaching, I started collating these things. And somebody said to me one time, "Why don't you write a book on this?" So I said, "Sort of is a good idea." So I started collecting notes and taking notes and stuff. So I did that for 6 years. I would wake up in the night and I had this little booklet next to me and a pen, and I would just write a note down. And I would just take notes every time. So I collated all of that, put the book together. It took a long time to put together because I needed to get the fiqh components checked out, make sure the shuyukh there agreed with the fiqh issues, because I'm not knowledgeable enough in the fiqh part of things. I needed to get, I had 3 sheikhs that checked it for me, did it and worked with me on that. And then the other side, the practical side, I was able to put in my book. So I had trouble trying to get it published. So in the year 2000, we managed to publish it through Message of Islam in London, which is the color version, the black color version there, getting the best out of Hajj.
Okay.
And that had quite a few mistakes in it and stuff. So and it was quite expensive because it's quite thick.
Sure.
Right? So we used that book for a year or two, and then in 2003 and 4, I had planned that we will come back home to Australia from Saudi, and I needed to get the book published I wouldn't be able to distribute it.
Yeah.
So I met with the head of Dar es Salaam books.
Abdul Malik
Mujahid.
Mujahid, mashallah.
So he's a good brother.
Yeah.
And then he wasn't really all that interested in the beginning. He said, "Oh, look, people write books. There's a lot of Hajj books and stuff." And then I said, "Look, all I want to do is for you to agree to take it, to read it, check if you want to print it, because I needed to give it to somebody that's going to print and distribute it." And then one of the things he said to me, he said, "Look, I've had many people sit in front of me trying to print a book, and I would sometimes say that's a good book. That book's going to be really successful, right? And it doesn't. And then other times people come in and say, nah, that book's not going to do anything, and then it is."
Yeah.
And he said in his years of experience, it came down, he found that it was basically the sincere intention of the writer for that book that made the difference. So I said to him, "Okay, you decide." So 2 years later, I left him 2004. 2005, I left Saudi. We agreed that, okay, he'll decide. And then 2006, they published the Umrah version, which is the Umrah book.
Yeah.
Right, which is the Umrah version of that. And I said, they published the wrong book. And then the next year, they published the Hajj one.
Yeah.
So it was around about 2006, 2007, they published Getting the Best Out of Hajj. Yeah. So since then, it's been the same. People say I need to change it, but I wrote it in such a way that there's not many things there that's time specific. There are a couple of things. And for the last few years, we've been working with them to try and get a new version of that.
Yeah.
And also, alhamdulillah, the book is translated into Malay.
MashaAllah.
And also into Bengali.
MashaAllah. Wonderful.
Right? And then the pocket guides, the smaller ones, and then the man's hand. So, alhamdulillah, somebody sent me a message from Arafat, from Mina yesterday. One of the Australians, they are in the British, there's all of the British and Americans there.
Yeah.
And she said every single person there has the book.
MashaAllah.
So, alhamdulillah.
So it's really gone far and wide.
It's really gone far and wide, alhamdulillah. And so when I came back, so what happened was one of my school friends was with Our World Travel, which is the Hajj group that we work with, was in Mecca. And the owners for Our World Travel started buying everybody the book and to hand out the book to them as a gift. And then they said, "Look, I know the owner of I know the author of the book. He lives in Jeddah. I can introduce you to them." So that's what happened. So that's how I met the people from Our World.
Okay.
And then I started year after year when the Our World group came, I would give talks to the Our World group.
Yes.
So in 2005, when I came back to Australia, Our World said, "Look, you're going to be our guy."
Right.
So alhamdulillah, by Allah's mercy and blessings, I came to Australia and then I became the Our World guide.
Yes.
So the journey of Hajj continued after that.
Gotcha.
So I've done Hajj in all different forms.
Yeah.
Difficult, easy, luxury with the Saudis, not so luxury with the Saudis, walking Hajj. There was one year we were working in Mina. We had this whole group. We lost our bus. And we took the carpets, these carpets that you have, the carpets and the water and all that. We took it all off the bus because we wanted to relax there. There was like probably about 20 of us. And then when we woke up, the bus was gone. So we had to carry all of these things. We had to carry these carpets and stuff all the way through Mina, through to Muzdalifah. So that was a tough one.
Yeah.
We kind of lost Hajjis all the time. So losing Hajjis is almost part of of it.
Yeah. It's a lot easier these days with the communications and stuff though, isn't it? Like there must have been a time where there was no mobile phones and you lose them, you have to meet up somewhere or...
Yes and no, and no. So like a few years ago, we lost the Haji in Mina and then, you could call up, "Where are you?" "I'm by the tents." Okay, there's tents everywhere. So for those of you who know, there's tents. "Oh, okay, give me something else." "Oh, there's tunnels." There's plenty of tunnels.
Yeah.
"Give me a color, give me a color and a number." Right? So what we tend to do is basically tell them, go to a particular place, go to the Jamarat, because everybody knows where the Jamarat is. So go to the Jamarat, there's a pillar there, 56, right big one there, 56. Just wait there, pillar 56 at the Jamarat.
and then we get there. So 99% of the time, when we get to the Pillar 56, they're not there. Then you call them, where are you? We were there, but you didn't come. It takes a while to get there. So there's different nuances as to why people still get lost. Or their phone's off, they don't answer their phone, etc. But it does make it easier with the phones. But we still lose them.
What are some of the highlight years, like, or some of the not so like sad years, I guess, when some of the stampedes and stuff happened?
Yeah, so those early years with the stampedes, some of those were really, really sad. Where people have actually died, and then there were some years where people actually died in our group.
Subhanallah, really?
And you know, those are tough ones.
Yeah, and they were part of the stampedes from your group.
And or they just died from illness. So one of the saddest ones was probably, what was it, 2015 possibly, 14, 15. Went from Australia. We were walking towards the Jamarat, and there was we had about 3 or 4 doctors with us, and there was a group of people surrounding somebody, and there was a man laying on the ground, and you could see he was, you know, he was not well. He was having a cardiac heart attack or something, and then his wife was next to him, and then the doctor that was with us, he stopped and he tried to help and stuff. He told everybody to move away, but we were just holding the people back, and then he died. He died there right in front of us, right? And you just stand there and you just look at it, and his wife is there and she was holding his hand. They were walking to the Jamarat. His hand was closed like this, right? And then she knew that he had his stones in his hand.
Subhanallah.
So what she did was she opened his hand and took the stones out, and like said, look, you know, I'll come through the Jamarat for you.
Yeah.
So that was like a really sad and memorable moment during Hajj. There were times when people get really, really sick as well. There's lots of happy moments when people are really, really, when they finish their Hajj. And during the Hajj, you know, they get angry with us, they get cranky because they say, we're crazy, we're driving them too much. And we don't cut the corners, you know, we push them back into Mina, it's 40 degrees, and we force them back into Mina where they can stay in the Azizia and the Makkah. But when they finish on that last day, when they come off that bridge in the Jamarat, and everybody just has that relief, and you just see that on their faces, that's what keeps me going. That's what really, really makes me, that last day, seeing that faces, the smile on people's faces. So some of the years that was really, really memorable. 2017, the year that you went with us, there was a lot of good, so we still have a lot of good memories about that, with friends that we have. 2017. 2019, which is the last year we went, because it rained in Arafah.
It rained in 17 as well. I think you've forgotten that.
Did it?
It rained at the end, yes.
Yeah, at the end it did, so 17 was special. We had a lot of good, still meet up with quite a lot of people.
Yes, as do I.
Over the years, you know, as they say, Hajj buddies are lifelong buddies.
They are.
So I have so many lifelong friends and family that during the years, you know, I've met or gone through Hajj with. And then the memorable year also was one of them we were walking, with the tough one. One of my friend who lives in London was walking in Jeddah with us. We were in the Masjid Namira, and our Saudi friend, he was the Amir. So he was rationing the water and the dates and everything, and he wanted to make sure we have enough food and everything, and he wanted to make sure we didn't drink too much because we didn't need to go to the toilet. So he was rationing the water. And my friend was laying there, he was dehydrated, he was almost dying of dehydration. And he wouldn't give him the water. It was just like, okay, you can have a drip, you can have a drip, you can have a little bit. That was funny, but it was also serious. And then the second day, my friend, so he wouldn't let us eat anything either. Like he made us eat dates and biscuits and stuff. So as soon as the 10th of DHUL HIJJah, we said, oh, look, we're going to go to Makkah for Tawaf al-Ifad and Sa'i. So he said, look, somebody needs to stay back to watch our belongings. So we wanted to separate from him because we wanted to go buy chicken and chips, and he would let us eat. As soon as we separated from him, we ran off to Al Baik to buy chicken and chips, and just ate stuffed our faces.
So I mean, let's fast forward to now, and we could talk about that for hours, subhanAllah. But it is a very, very interesting time when it comes to Hajj. So a lot of people have probably heard some of the stuff that's happened, but in a nutshell, what has happened? What is the seismic shift this year in Hajj, especially for the Western countries? How would you describe it in your words?
So what they've done, the Australia, Europe, Europe and America, it's basically the way they used to manage us is we stayed as part of the one, as they call the muassasa, the European, the Western countries, right? So the way the Hajj works is it's different countries and different people in Saudi, different organizations, groups take care of different countries. So there's this group, the European group, Turkey and Europe. So Europe includes America and Australia. And they take care of us every year. So they have the different offices, like, for example, they assign 10,000 Hajjis to this office, 20,000 to 5,000 here, etc. And you get a number. You're working under office number 25, 26, 27. So that's how they basically manage the people. So not everybody's in one group. And what happens is, like, basically, like, you sign up with an agent over here. The agent arranges all the hotels. The agent then arranges all the food, all those.
And the agent is verified by the Saudi government. They've got a license.
Yeah, they have a license, and they have to have. They have got a quota of visas. They would give them.
Okay.
So in Australia, as an example, there I don't know how many agents there are. Probably 5 or 10.
Yep.
And they have, some of them have 400 visas, some of them 600 visas, some of them 100, 120, 200 visas. And then what would happen is that these agents would organize with their hotels. They'd provide package. They would add on, like, 5-star hotels, food, services they provide, the imam that goes with, the type of guides that go with, female guides, all of that. So they would take all this package, they would price it up, and they would on-sell it to the pilgrims. And then pilgrims would go with this group, etc., etc. What the Saudis have decided to do, they said, basically, now we'll take all this whole layer out, and we'll do what they call business to client. They claim their justification was that there was too much rorting, too much excessive, there was people cheating, etc., etc. So we wanted to make sure we'd cut out all this cheating. Let us cheat you. So, no, just kidding. Let us
deal with you
directly. And it should be much cheaper because you cut out the middleman, all of that. So that was the idea behind it. But in a nutshell, basically, it was to do with, well, you don't have to make the money, we'll make the money. So basically, we'll make all the money, so we don't need the middleman. Obviously, a lot of people were happy because they thought, okay, the agents have been ripping off people for years, overcharging, etc., etc., which is not true, by the way. In all honesty, in Australia, there's never been, I don't say never, but in my experience, there hasn't been anybody that money was taken or stolen. I could be stand corrected, but they've basically fixed something that wasn't broken, right? The stuff that's broken is still not fixed. So what they did, okay, like, you can now apply online. So, like, if you think at booking.com as an example, right? You go up, you book whatever, book the room, double, great. And then you select, and then you know, sometimes booking.com, you turn up, you know, the ad that shows, like, have you booked the right room? So that's basically what they did. They just did it suddenly, a couple of weeks out before Hajj. People already paid the agents. Their system wasn't ready. Many things aren't ready. And this is basically what's happened now, the debacle which you see unfolding.
So have they, like, overnight completely crushed an industry in a way?
Yes.
So all the Hajj operators who've been doing this for 20, 30 years, brothers and sisters, families, entire businesses built around this, completely gone?
So anybody who had this as their sole income, it's gone. Your business is basically...
So you would obviously know some of those people, some of those groups. What was the impact on them?
I don't really know anybody that did this in Australia as that's their core business. Like, that's their livelihood. I know a lot of the big players, they have like 400 visas. So when we say visa, which means your quota to bring pilgrims is 400, right? So what they would do, I know, they would take 100 pilgrims as a package, and they would on-sell 300 visas to all of these other little groups. Right?
Okay, that's where the little groups come from.
That's where the little groups come from, and that's where they would make their money.
Right.
So they would make money on the visas and also obviously on the pilgrims. But nobody made exorbitant amount of money, except if you had a large number of quota, right? So you'd make more than a person with smaller number of quota. And then the services that people get, depending on it, obviously people might advertise something, they don't deliver, etc. So you get all of those sort of those things. I don't say it's been perfect, but there's a purpose for that and there's a reason for that. So they've taken all of that out. They've said you don't do that. So you're basically you're on your own. You're with different people. Like, one of our friends they're British and Americans. They don't know anybody. All right. But so obviously human nature is they'll find their way. They'll get around to it and stuff like this. So people might get used to the idea. They might say, okay, this is a good way to do this. But from a spiritual perspective, from a Hajj perspective, I don't think it is a good idea to work, because the part of the Hajj thing is that spiritual connection with the groups and the people, the Imam that's there, the group leaders that's there. A lot of people come and they listen to some of the talks, you get the guidance, and they really get inspired by all of that, right? Yeah. But maybe the generation that we are, the younger generation, and I give an analogy of Laylatul Qadr with this my 10 nights things and stuff like this, like just pay $10, just tap your phone and you've got Laylatul Qadr. Yeah. Basically what we're doing is creating a generation of people that believes that I can just pay and get something, and it's khalas, I'm done. There's no effort, there's no time, there's nothing. So okay, let's pay, we pay whatever, it's all of that, but there's no spiritual side to it. There's the effort of that spending the night in itikaf is not there. I've paid my sadaqah for the night. So they try, Hajj will go down the same path if we don't, if this happens. So that means they say we want to give you a digital experience, right? So Hajj is not about being digital. This wasn't broken, this part wasn't broken. I didn't say it can't be improved, it can't be better, but it didn't make it cheaper either. So it's not to say like, okay, it's half the price, it's worth it for this headache. It's not half the price. As a matter of fact, if you ask people now, most people won't give you, and I've seen this, exactly how much they paid, because they're kind of embarrassed in a way, because they used to complain or say like, these guys are charging ridiculous prices,
the groups are
too expensive, whatever. And one of the comments was the sister said, we're eating our words now, so to speak, right? So the packages they gave, people paid, if not more, similar for half the time and half the services. So in reality, they have not given you a cost-effective service price, right?
So what's this Mutawif thing that they set up? Mutawif-SA, which was like a government body or something that was dealing with the Western Hajjaj, almost, it seemed like.
So the Mutawif is basically,
or the platform
there's the Ministry of Hajj, and then there's the Mutawif, which is the sort of the families or the groups that used to take care of the pilgrims over time. So they call them the Muassasa, the Mutawif.
Right.
So the Muassasa, the Mutawif was to take care of us. So there was all these different Mutawifs that used to take care of different camps, right?
Okay.
Somewhere in their wisdom, one of these Mutawifs decided that this was a good idea, convinced somebody high up in the Ministry of Hajj, this is a good idea, and they probably gave them permission, just go ahead, this is a good idea. But not all those Mutawifs, the Europeans, was on board in this package.
Right.
Now, why they call it Mutawif/SA, probably they just chose that name. And they set up this thing and decided to do what they needed to do, obviously with the authority and permission of Ministry of Hajj. And that's what they did. And it was clear that it wasn't actually the Ministry of Hajj themselves that was completely behind this or was setting this up or running this. As you can see today, the Ministry of Hajj yesterday sacked the CEO and a couple other people.
Yes.
And today they've taken over all the Mutawifs in Mina. They've sacked all of them.
Wow.
And said Ministry of Hajj is now moving in to take over the service. Basically, the agency is cutting out
even the other middleman.
So now the Mutawifs is on the side. And they've even told the Hajjis today that go to Arafah with all your belongings because you're not coming back to the same tent in Mina. Right?
How is that even possible for that many people?
So logistically, I'm not sure how they're going to pull it off. So the brothers, so the feedback we're getting, the brothers and sisters who booked Platinum and Platinum Plus, alhamdulillah, they seem to have a fantastic time. They've got buffet lunches, all of that. So there is some good news in the sense that they're getting a good service. The brothers and sisters in the gold package, now look at the marketing. Gold package is the bottom of the range package. Normally gold is like top of the range. Right? So it's even in that I see there was some, when I looked at the packages originally, when I signed up and all of that, I could tell that I just had a feeling these things were not right, because the way they showed it and the questions they were asking you, an example, do you want to start your Hajj in Mina or Arafah? That indicated to me straight up that the guys behind this are either not Muslim or they don't understand how these things work. You can start in Arafah or Mina, but logistically, that's not a good option because it's logistically a nightmare. And then some of the other things they did behind all of that, I just had a feeling that this was going to go belly up. Right? And for most of the people, it's gone belly up. It's really, they're struggling, and some of the comments you see, and that's why the Ministry of Hajj stepped in and just basically said they stepped in too late. They stepped in too late, in my opinion, anyway.
Yeah.
What they will do next year, we don't know. Whether they'll say, look, guys, there was some teething problems.
Yeah.
We'll still continue with this.
Yeah.
We'll improve it, etc. What we say is basically, if it's best for the Hujjaj, alhamdulillah. You know, if it's going to be good for the Hujjaj, alhamdulillah. But if it's going to be the same concept where you go and you pay, and you don't know who you're going with, you don't know who you're going to meet with, you don't know who's going to guide you, then I don't think it's a good idea.
Yeah. So how is, I mean, from what you're hearing at the moment, how are individuals navigating the fiqh and the manasik and the rites of Hajj? Like, how are they meant to do that? Like, it's so complicated, but it's not easy either, right? I mean, even that book is that thickness for a reason. Like, there's quite a bit that has to be done, certain ad'iyah and intentions, and if you don't do certain things, then its entire thing is invalid. And, you know, if you're perhaps a person who doesn't come from an Islamic sort of background, and you're sort of, this is your entry into the deen, or you're newly practicing, you need someone to guide you really to do this properly.
So that's the heart of the problem with this, because during Hajj, even before this, you know, there's many muftis. Everybody is an expert in Hajj, right? Everybody will give you a fatwa of what their rulings are. So now it's basically coming down to room, right? So in each room there'll be some person that basically takes charge, and they'll do things. And many people are asking questions on my phone. They're asking me, what about this?
Yes.
So those who attended the lecture and stuff, they're actually following it through. And the follow-out card I have, I basically say, for these Hajj days, if you don't do any of these, then you have to ask yourself why.
Yeah.
So it's as simple as that.
Sure.
But many people, like the ones who attended my workshop, basically they felt that they were better after the workshop. One brother watched it 3 times to get himself ready. But as you know, when you get there, on the ground, it's very different.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I often say, when the people get back to Mecca after Mina, on the 10th of Dhul Hijjah, even in our days, people struggle to get back to Mina.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Now with this, I can be 100% sure that 90% of those people will not go back to Mina. Because it's some of the services, like, unless they improve it dramatically over the next few days.
Yeah.
For the Platinum and Platinum Plus guys, maybe they'll go back because they got some good services there.
Yeah.
The only service that provided a couple room was Platinum Plus. And my estimate of how much that would have cost, including the flights, it was like, in the end, $5,000 to $6,000 for an economy class seat, was in excess of 25,000
per person. Australian dollars. That's insane.
Right.
And it was, I think the best packages before COVID here were like 16, 17, 18,000.
We were reaching this year, if we were going to go, 20 to 21, 22.
Right, okay.
We were reaching that because of the increased cost in Saudi itself, right?
Sure.
So if the packages came, if somebody could go for, say, 15 and had a similar service, or at least, you know, close to that, then it's worth it. Then it's worth to do. Then it's worth it to do.
Yeah.
So we'll see how this ends up. I'm not sure what they're going to do.
Yeah. SubhanAllah, that's very interesting. There's been one thing that I've heard which is absolutely puzzling, which is that men and women have been put together in the same hotel room. Is that a rumor, or is that true?
No, that's true. So I mentioned this in my workshop as well.
Yeah.
I said, look, guys, one of the things that as I went through the fine print when it came up, and you know, I cast my eye over everything, just checking it out. Very last point in the features is triple share or quad share. All of the packages, except, and I was saying this is crazy, until they released the Platinum Plus package. That was the only one that said 2 share, 2 in a room.
Yeah.
Right. And people don't tend to look at those things.
Yes.
So I said, look, guys, you've signed and agreed 3 in a room.
And you can't choose which 3 people.
You can't choose which 3 people, and basically they'll assign it. And I said, look, if you end up there, there's a couple and there's one person there, they'll put you in the room, and there's nothing they're going to do. They said, no, they can't do that. I said, yes, they can, and they did. And the reason I know they would do it is because they've been doing it for so many years for the Indonesians and the Indians and all of those countries. They've been doing this.
Right.
So what I think it was even 2017 when we were there, I don't know if you remember, there was this Indian brother who was constantly with me. And he was from the Indian contingent. So he met me through Facebook. Yeah. And he was chasing me, following me down.
Right.
And he was just hanging out with us.
Sure.
Because he was in a room with the couple.
Right.
He was in a room with the couple. And
so from the Indian contingent, he got assigned like that.
Yeah. So I said to him, why do you do this? He said, no, they do this all the time. Everybody's like this. It's like crazy there. And then he just said, he just stayed at the room because he couldn't go in there.
Yeah.
And then I met with the Indian Hajj Commission that same year, in 2018 as well, because I got some friends there, and I met with the guys there, and I said to them, "Do you guys do this?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "Why?" He said, "Look, just the numbers is just, it's just
it can't be perfectly aligned.
Just logistically, it's just the way it is."
Yeah.
So apparently, these countries have been putting up with this stuff for many years. So it's one of the sheikhs, I think it's from Britain or America, wrote, "This is a wake-up call for the Westerners, because we used to like come arrogantly, walk around, go when we want to go, experience this. Now we're just getting a feeling of what many of the pilgrims have been going through for many years." Right. So even from that point of view, you can just see the people planning behind don't put the thought into place. So that's what the groups do, the agents do, all of those sorts of things. That's what they do, and eliminated all of those problems. Right?
So they'd sort of clumped people into the right rooms, and all that.
We would, like, sometimes at the end we've got all the people lined up, and then there's one person who wants to go. So either one male or one female, and there's no space in the way the rooms. We say, look, you can only go if you bring another person with you, or it will cost you so much extra. Because to get the one person in a room by themselves costs more.
That's right, getting a whole room.
So those are the things that the value add that the people provided, that we as groups provided.
So what are you hearing on the ground? Are people just like having to wing it in terms of the fiqh? Are they asking people around them, what do I do here? What do I do there?
So I was checking with a couple of people today. One of the guys who was with me in the workshop, he said the people in his room are helping him. Most of the other people are either WhatsApping or checking or reading the book and asking people. And many others are quiet. So either they've just found their own way. You know, people are pretty resilient and understand. And even when we were on Hajj, when we used to take groups, people used to feel like they didn't do it properly, even when we were guiding them. Let alone now when they
with the random
stuff, and people, they're not sure what they did, what they didn't do. And so we would just make dua that, you know, they can follow at least the best of their ability, because they are left to their own desires, so to speak, and not by their own choosing, right? Not by their own choosing.
So one of the things obviously was, for instance, there used to be these, like, let's say Arafah today, there was these tents, like the Our World tent that we were in. And now it's just like random tents, and people from like all Western countries thrown into one, and then another one, and then another one. So
similarly, what they did, they had, the Mutawif had assigned numbers. So there was 24, 25, whatever the numbers are. And they've given, I don't know who, some of their buddies, whoever, okay, you guys, we're giving you money to take care of Camp 24. We'll give you 5,000 pilgrims. There'll be a mixture of Europe, Australia, and America. So they basically mixed it all up. And so we've got some Aussies with British and Americans, and they all the Westerners are all mixed up, but they're in different groups, in different camps. So the Platinum guys seems to have got at least somebody there in the Platinum kind of spent some money and provided some good services for the Platinum. But some of the others, man, when you see the photos, it's just some of the stuff in Mina is just like really, really bad.
What do we mean by bad? Like, what's going on?
Like, if you remember when you come there, so one of the tents, there's not enough place, firstly. Second, some of the tents, it's like just sand. There's no mats, there's nothing. One of the tents, the pictures that came through, there's not even walls, or the things are open, you know. ACs aren't working. No food. There's just nothing. There's no help. And then somebody sent a photo today of all of the young guys, the workers, laying in an air conditioning thing on carpet and stuff, and just laying there, not helping anybody. So it's just, and the camps, those camps are also way back where we are in Wasim, which is very far away. Whereas the Platinum guys get close to the Jamarat as well. So really, if they continue with this, you're going to have to pay. You're going to have to pay Platinum Plus to get the service. And that is cost more than what we would provide. And our packages, Australian type packages, is better than the Platinum Plus packages. So that's where it's at. But we'll see where it unfolds. So we said Hajj is becoming like this. Like you go to you know, like a party or something, people talk, and then they say, oh, you know, Brother Faraz has been Hajj. Oh, mashallah, you've been on Hajj, Brother Faraz. Yalla, come talk to us, sit down and talk to us. And they say, no, but don't worry, Brother Bilal has been on Hajj in 2022. Oh, ya Allah. You'll be like a special person.
Right.
You went to Hajj in 2022. Now you need to sit down. You need to tell us what really happened in 2022, right? And it's becoming unaffordable. 100% is becoming very unaffordable.
I mean, it was already getting pretty difficult for people, but this could actually squeeze people out entirely. It's like buying a new house these days.
You could buy a deposit for 2 people. This is a house deposit. When I was speaking to the Saudis a couple of years ago, one of the guys there said to me, "Why don't you guys subsidize the Hajj? At least, or put some rules on how much hotels can charge, or whatever they call it. Make the industry in such a way that you have rules. Hotels can't charge above this and stuff. So you make it affordable. Like for things. Regulate. I was looking for the word regulate. Regulate the Hajj in its costings." And then he looked at me and said, "One of the conditions of Hajj is you must be able to afford it." So that's the thought process.
Interesting.
Right? The thought process is not about let's make it affordable.
Yeah.
No, we'll just do what we need to do.
Yeah.
And look, if I'll pay extra 5,000, fix the toilets in Mina.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right.
Upgrade the toilets in Mina, and still those toilets haven't been upgraded.
For decades.
Even in platinum, the toilets is fixed. Yeah, it's upgraded.
Okay. Yeah. So it'll be very interesting to see what the Hujjaj come back with this year in terms of their spiritual experience, I guess. Because when this much has gone wrong practically, what are you going to be able to get out of it from what you're meant to concentrate on? SubhanAllah.
Yeah, we'll see. But sometimes when people are in tough situations, they do things better in a way as well.
It's true.
So I'll be interested to interview or talk to different people from different experiences.
Yes. Maybe that's a real talk.
Yeah, that's a real talk. We can have a few pilgrims here.
After Hajj, yes. That's an idea. I think the team should note that down. That's a very interesting one. Khair. Okay. Alhamdulillah. All right. So it's going to be quite the next few days, I suppose. I mean, Arafah is the big one, but then there's still those 3 or 4 days afterwards.
So this is the challenge days, right? This is the days where people really buckle, where people are not going to be able to put up to stay in Mina. It's 45 degrees. It's hot. The ACs and stuff's not working.
What option do they have though?
They go to Mecca.
Yeah.
Because now, one of the reasons why we never had our rooms in Mecca during the Hajj days is so people can't go back to Mecca and stay in the rooms.
So do they have that now?
Yeah, so they have
interesting.
They have their hotels through the Hajj period. So let's say you're going down to Mecca tomorrow.
Yeah.
To cut your hair, sacrifice, then do Tawaf al-Ifada and Sa'i Hajj, and you get to your bed, your hotel, compared to what you had in Mina. So now, in those days, it's hard to get people out of Azizia to go back to Mina.
Yes.
Let alone, there's nobody to pull you out.
Okay.
There's nobody to watch you. There's nobody to see where's Faraz. How come Faraz is not going back to Mina?
Yes.
There's nobody in Mina that will miss you.
Yes.
Right? Because
so this time the hotel rooms are there. They're yours for the entire stretch.
Right?
I see.
So now it's going to be whether people are going to feel they need to go back to Mina, whether they're going to have that strength and courage to go and fulfill this. And I keep on saying to people, guys, Hajj is tough. It's designed for you to be in Mina. The Hajj days, the rituals, there's specific rituals around this. You paid to do this. Don't find reasons not to do this. You paid to do this. That's what you're meant to do. Right? Don't find it's better here. No, it is not better to pray in Mecca. It is not. There's not for the pilgrim. There's no more reward to pray in the Haram than it is to pray in Mina.
Yes.
Because you're meant to be in Mina.
And for the benefit of the brothers and sisters watching, you've got Mecca or the Kaaba, let's say, and then about 10 kilometers from there is Azizia, 5 to 10 kilometers. And then Mina is sort of on the edge of Azizia, and then that's where it starts. And the Jamarat are a good 2 to 3 kilometers in that way, isn't it?
So Jamarat is about a kilometer in from Azizia.
Yeah, okay, a kilometer.
And then the 3 kilometers to the camp where we were.
Yes.
So for the guys who's close to the Jamarat, it's not a problem.
Yeah.
So for the other ones, like for instance, what they can do, worst case scenario, is basically come up in the night and hang out here at the Jamarat. It's cooler. Until midnight or in the morning, and then go back to your hotel in Mecca during the day. Right? At least you're spending the nights in Mina. It's fulfilling some of that.
Yes.
But there's nobody to guide them and to do this stuff, right?
But theoretically, they could. I mean, they could catch a taxi to the edge of Azizia, and so you'll probably hear of a lot of people sort of doing that this year.
They need to know they can do, or there's an option for them. Besides sleeping in Mecca.
What would a pilgrim, because I mean, what happens on the days of Mina is that you're so tired by the time you do the Jamarat, the 4 kilometers back and forth from your tent in Mina, that really is your day, right? You pick a time in the day, you go, you do that, you come back, takes up quite a few hours because you're walking so much, and then you do your worship in Mina and spend time, reflecting there, whatever, doing dhikr and so forth. If you're in Mecca in a hotel by the side of the Kaaba, does that mean that for almost the first time, we'll see the Kaaba quite populated because all these Hujjaj are hanging around in the hotels in Mecca?
It's popular because a lot of people come in for tawaf anyway.
Okay, yeah.
So tawaf, Ifadah, Sa'i,
yes.
people come in for that anyway.
Yeah.
So you'll find that Mina, my guess is in the Western camps, Mina will be quite empty in the next 2 to 3 days. That's my guess.
And the Kaaba will be more populated than usual.
Yeah, and people will find all sorts of reasons why they want in Mina.
Yeah.
So that's like, we remember we used to force people, and we used to take no prisoners, say, guys, you need to come back. People say, you're being unfair, you're being unjust, I said, guys, just stick with us for these 5 days. When you finish, it's like running a marathon and you're just edging somebody on, go.
Yeah.
When they finish that marathon,
yeah.
They just feel like so relieved and a sense of achievement.
Yeah.
And then after Hajj, when people talk about, we had this difficulty, or it was quite hot in Mina, this one say, I was in Makkah, I was enjoying myself, stuff. You don't have that sense of achievement in the end because you haven't really achieved it. You've cut corners.
Yeah.
You've cut corners.
Yeah.
And I often say, don't cut corners. Right? That's the thing that I always used to like going and forcing people to do the Hajj properly.
Yeah.
Do the Hajj properly.
Thinking at this at a more, I guess, Islamic spiritual sort of lens away from the practicalities, this does really give you an appreciation of what Hajj was once upon a time, doesn't it?
Yes.
I mean, when we're talking of the conveniences of a person being able to walk or catch a taxi to a 5-star hotel, air conditioned, and then you think what the Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and people for 1400 years went through, it really makes you understand why it is the journey of a lifetime.
Yep.
Your earlier days, the 90s and so forth, when these conveniences weren't there, did you feel, or was it just like, because there's no other choice, you just got to do what you got to do? And now people have the choice and they've got these conveniences so they can actually cut these corners. Or like how do you sort of reflect on that?
Yeah, so that's right. So the early days, 90s and stuff like this, we didn't have these choices and stuff like this. So you didn't even think about going there. You just knew, okay, these are the things I'm meant to do.
Yeah.
So when we had all these reverts with us, we needed to lead by example. We couldn't go and relax. That we needed to make sure, take these guys, bring them back, all of that type of stuff. And then we never really looked at it a different way until we started going with the Westerners, so to speak, from the Western countries. We saw all of these luxuries and the different way people do things. And hence why we as a group, or the people that would come with me, I would always say, guys, during Hajj days, we have a different persona because we're really going to force you now.
Yeah.
And people got cranky with us.
Yeah.
I mean, people got really, really upset with us. And I said, look, I don't mind you getting upset with me right now, but you will appreciate it when you get home. You will appreciate it later. Say, look, yep, it was tough, but it's sort of like a badge of honor.
Yes,
you're wearing it, you feel like, whew, that was tough. That's why walking down that bridge at the Jamarat on that last day, 12th to 13th,
I remember
and we
very
just
well.
throw that bridge and you just go, everybody started congratulating each other. It's such a sense of achievement, such an achievement, such a beautiful feeling.
Yeah.
But if you're going up and down, just like you don't have that.
Yeah.
You don't have that.
And when I was there, and you look back at all the pictures from the 1950s and the 60s, and you look at what Hajj was like, and then you think, subhanAllah, to the pre-modern ages, and just how Muslims used to come from different places, obviously much smaller numbers, but the way that they must have felt at the end of that journey, like it's just mind-boggling, the sense of achievement, and like it's just on another level.
Like in the 40s and 50s, not even 2 minutes, such a long time ago, when people used to go for Hajj, people used to greet them as they're never going to see them again.
Yes, because so many people died, right?
They're never going to see them. So that's how it was.
Yeah.
It was difficult to go. Hajj was difficult. Then it became easy to go. Hajj was difficult. Now it's becoming difficult to go for different reasons.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
For different reasons. Like, people paid like crazy money for airline tickets. Why would you pay? I mean, just paying $6,500 for an economy airfare to Jeddah. It's like, it's like just like that's
$1,000 the rest of the year.
That's a business class ticket.
That's right. Yeah.
But people, alhamdulillah, for those who went and did it, it was their calling. Alhamdulillah.
Any other final sort of closing thoughts? Any thoughts, I guess, to brothers and sisters who are watching this unfold and might have been considering Hajj next year or missed out this year, or because it was a lottery system, so a lot of people just didn't make it through. What would your... So
the lottery system is a misnomer. It's I don't want to use any rude words, but there was no lottery really.
Right.
I mean,
did you hear everyone made it through, or?
Yeah, everybody that applied.
Right. Okay. Because the demand wasn't high enough, perhaps.
There was no real lottery really. I'm not sure even if they did a lottery, a computer decides
yes,
who's
yes,
who.
yes, sure, yeah.
And even the term using lottery system in Hajj,
it seems a bit odd, yeah.
It seems a bit odd. I guess because from a Western sense, we know what lottery is, right?
Yes.
It's a gambling thing.
Random pick, yeah.
Gambling thing. Yeah. So basically, the lottery they took was lottery of what they were going to get was really the lottery.
Yeah.
Right. So the Prophet ﷺ said, hasten to perform your Hajj because you do not know what's going to come, in your way. So we often, we thought, after COVID, alas, we're going to go. You don't know what's going to happen. So it's either something in your life, you get married and you have, you're going to have children, and then you wait till the children gets to teenagers, the children get teenagers, they've also probably, you never get going. Or somebody says, look, work-wise, I can't do it, I'll go next year. Something happens, you can't go. So make the intention now. So I'm going next year. So inshallah, if they have the same system, we hope that we can help in a better way of how people can book what they need to book, what are the packages, maybe the packages are better, they've learned from that and stuff. Then we will obviously adjust the way we teach, what we do there, and probably then say, okay, if we all want to go, let's say with 10, 20 people want to go, we all make sure we book the same package and we all go together. And at least you have a guide inside that group. So those are sort of things that can happen. But for those who are thinking about going, things aren't going to get cheaper. Things are not going to get any easier. So if you have the time and the money, make your intention now, put your vacation in, do what you need to do, plan, and at least you've made your intention. A lot of people they paid their money. So not because of them, they couldn't go because of what happened in the situation. So who knows? Allah may even reward them for the Hajj. And they have never even, they didn't even go, right?
Absolutely.
So,
absolutely.
But make that intention, put the money away, give some money, give the deposit.
Yeah.
And at least you've made your intention. Even when in 2020, when people gave deposits.
Yes, before COVID happened, yeah.
And then the COVID hit, people took their deposits back.
Yeah.
And I said to the brother, I was in New Zealand, I said, you just cancelled your intention. He said, what do you mean? I said, you've just taken your deposit back, which means you're not intending to go anymore. If you left your deposit there, it's at least like you have your intention still there.
Because you just don't know what happens next year.
So what happens the next day? He called up the agency and gave his deposit back. And now he still didn't go this year. But at least since 2019, 2021, 22, they had intention of going. They had put their money down. They had planned to go. But all of these things stopped them from going. So if they are unable to go, for whatever reason, they die or something else happens, at least they can say in front of Allah on the day that, I did, my intention was there and I wasn't able to go. It is a journey of a lifetime.
Absolutely
it is a journey of a lifetime.
Absolutely is. I mean, Allah, invite us there again and again.
Amen,
in your case, He has, mashallah, and I always make that dua every single year. It's that I just hope I get the chance to go again, whether for that or Umrah or whatever, but just being in that sanctuary is just indescribable. Indescribable, alhamdulillah. Well, Jazakallah khair, Brother Ismail, for all your hard work in this space and for the help that you have given many, including myself. It's I cannot, not to your face, but the reward that you've got, inshallah, is the stuff of envy. So I ask Allah to allow you to build more of that, and benefit others in the years to come. So, brothers and sisters, there we go. That is a fascinating discussion on Hajj, Brother Ismail's journey, and of course what's going on at the moment, and what might happen in the future. We hope you found that insightful, interesting, and if you're following on another screen what's happening in Mecca or at Arafah today, then hopefully it increases you in the desire to go in spite of the challenges, because whatever we face today pales in comparison with what has been there in the past, and it really is by the intention of what we plan to do for Allah that this thing will be rewarded for. So if you can put away the money, if you can make the intention, then do so. Don't worry about the other stuff, that will take care of itself. And I can speak for myself that you just somehow get through it. You just get through all of it, and all these lottery systems and stuff, there'll be a footnote in history of your life if you have to put up with them in the coming years. But we ask Allah to give you all the opportunity to go there and to reward all of those who facilitate. Reminder once again at the end of this episode that if it's Arafah for you today, if you're doing local sighting, or you're observing the 9th of DHUL HIJJah tomorrow, then it's the big day for you tomorrow. Do put aside some sadaqah, through causes like NZF and the great work that they're doing. May Allah reward you for that. And if you've already done Arafah, then continue in this blessed month of DHUL HIJJah, which continues. It's a sacred month. Increase in good deeds. Be careful of your sins and weaknesses, and continue to give sadaqah to those causes that are doing incredible things for our community. We had Brother Keith on the other night, and he was talking about the amazing work NZF is doing in the space of drugs and helping people whose lives have been turned upside down by gangs and sort of the violence that comes with that. So amazing work going on. Do support, inshallah, and ask Allah through the blessings of your sadaqah to reward you and to accept whatever it is that is on your wish list for your du'as. We ask Allah to accept from all of you, from all of us, and to make this blessed month one that we come out of better as Muslims, and that helps us individually and as a community, become closer to Allah and fulfill what He wants us to do from His deen. Jazakumullah khair for joining us once again. We will join you once again in another Real Talk episode after DHUL HIJJah. We've got another couple of fantastic episodes lined up. One on domestic violence, one on looking at the incredible and unique achievements of a leader in our community, Sister Abla. But more on those details, inshallah, during the course of the next few weeks. But until then, have a fantastic Eid. Eid Mubarak to you all in advance, and Brother Ismail to you as well. And may Allah make it a fantastic time for you and your family. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك ونشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت استغفرك ونتوب إليك والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
وعليكم السلام.